Ivy, are you gonna paint that pumpkin?
Yeah.
You give it to Grandma?
And number 11, the peanut butter pie, won the kids category.
Yep. Who made that?
Ginny and the
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. So, you know how there's been these questions that there's something weird going around with the Duggars? Well, just bear with me because I got a tip today, and obviously I can't confirm it with the Duggars, but my source, who is connected to the Duggars and to the Caldwells and all of these people, basically told me that back in September, the Duggars hosted this event at their house for the IBLP, something to do with family focus, and it was around the 25th or 26th. And during that time, apparently Jim Bob was not feeling well, but he still hosted the event, and people within the cult or the group were all invited to come over. They also promoted an event on their Facebook, which was a live stream for the 26th. So I don't know if that's the same event. But according to my source, lots of people from the group were invited, and some people went, some people didn't. Apparently Jim Bob was not feeling good that day, but that did not stop him from having people over. And apparently, like, from my understanding, Jessica, Priscilla and David Waller were in town, and David was going to be doing some speaking. Once at the event, while not feeling good, within a few days, he ends up testing positive for COVID, allegedly. And apparently everyone in his family ends up contracting it as well. I'm told that Jim Bob was the hardest hit next to, and then with Michelle following suit, and that they apparently didn't tell people that attended the party until a few weeks later that they had been exposed. So let me back this up, right? The Duggars last year were on TLC making masks, pretending like they cared. And then all fall were proving to us they didn't care because they were doing all of these events that seemed to tell us that they lacked any basic awareness for public safety. After completely ignoring the guidelines, which, by the way, in Arkansas, it's still listed as 10 people in a house, no more, to minimize large gatherings, to make sure you can properly social distance, and everyone wears masks. Throughout the fall, we talked about all these different events they were having, and we were saying, isn't it weird that we haven't heard a thing about any one of the Duggars getting ill? Well, I guess he ends up getting sick in end of September, and the whole family gets it. Apparently they don't tell their friends until like 2 weeks later. And so a bunch of the friends end up getting sick as well, but they're, I guess, peeved that the Duggars negated that information and that they find out after the fact, and they didn't know, allegedly, that Jim wasn't feeling good. And then I was looking at so I was trying to piece this all together in my mind, because my source was like adamant that it was around like the 25th or 26th of September that this event happened at the Duggars house. And so as I was looking through their social media, I noticed that they were promoting a Focus on Family event, which is for pro-life stuff. But I was then looking through to see how this would match so on September 26th, they said, See Life 2020, September 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it was like a link where people could watch this live. And I don't know if they were hosting it at their house and allowing people to like log in, maybe. And then within like a few days, they don't really post. They do like one more post, something about handwriting. And then on October 7th, they posted this weird video of Jordan cutting Jim Bob's hair, and there was literally no sound. And I remember thinking, gosh, that's so weird. Why is there no sound to this video? And it might be because maybe Jim's breathing was labored or something, but there was like this video, it was soundless, and that was it. And he's like kind of got his hair like closed his eyes and he looks like he's maybe miserable, but it could have just been that his daughter was cutting his hair. Then on October 11th, they're giving a happy birthday out to Johanna. And then by October 22nd, they're traveling down to Big Sandy, Texas for the family conference. So apparently within 2 to 3 weeks of them contracting this as a family, they all got into a car and drove down to Texas, and they were not stopped due to the illness to miss this event for their cult. And then they continued on like nothing happened because they continued to promote different events at churches, concerts. They had a huge sweater party in December. They had a huge Christmas party in December. They had a huge New Year's Eve party in December. I mean, if you don't remember that, in December on the 31st, they had hundreds of people in their house. No one was wearing masks. And all of us were just like, what is going on here? And then the Duggars went silent for a couple weeks, and we were convinced that they must have had COVID. But it sounds like the COVID happened in the fall. But I'm almost wondering if they got it a second time in January, because when I was looking at pictures of Michelle, I was noticing that she has lost quite a bit of weight since the fall. And people that have known to have this virus some of them are losing quite a bit of weight just because they can't keep things down. They have a hard time breathing. They lose their energy, like they lose their sense of taste, and they just don't feel hungry. And so I'm like, well, maybe she just got hit really bad and she just lost a bunch of weight. And then I also noticed she just looks sort of like, they looked tired. And Jim, in the most recent episode, looked kind of puffy, almost like he had been on some steroids. And I'm not trying to like shame their bodies by any means, but my source says that Jim got it the worst. Like he was in the worst shape. He didn't have to go to the hospital, but he was not like, he wasn't good. The other guys apparently, like the kids got it more mildly. And I guess like next to Jim, Michelle got it the worst next to Jim. So, and that would make sense because they're both like in their 50s. So you have these two that have the COVID, they give it to all of their kids, and then they just keep going on, and then they don't care. Like they have the fall festival, they have this ugly sweater party, they have the huge Christmas party, they have the huge New Year's Eve party. And there's been a lot of questions about why is filming so delayed? Like, is the show coming back? And I'm starting to think that part of the reasons why we only saw a special right now is because I'm guessing when you have cast that do not adhere to the requirements for filming of having to wear a mask, proper like social distance, not interact with people, I'm guessing filming crews are not going to want to be around them. Very sort of haphazard episode that was just put out could be because they might be finally like adhering to guidelines. I was told that after sort of like Christmas-ish and New Year's, they've just not been doing as many big events anymore. They're really just sort of sticking to the family now, which could also be why they didn't have as many kids in the episode because they didn't want to have them all there for filming. Perhaps they needed to keep it smaller for the people that were filming the episode, making sure there wasn't too many people there to keep the crew safe. So I'm starting to wonder if their lack of adherence is causing like issues with filming. And then I'm also told that there was a huge drama that happened like last spring with the Caldwells at their church, Lighthouse Baptist. And apparently it caused a rift, not only between the Caldwells and the Duggars, but also between the Duggars and the Duggars. Like some of the kids completely split off and branched off. So the Duggars went off and some of their kids stayed with Paul Caldwell at his church. So Jeremiah and Jed stayed with him along with Joseph. So 3 of the boys sort of took Paul's side in a way. And then you had, Justin was already gone. He was sort of in Texas. Apparently Josiah and Lauren go to a completely different church. Jessa and Ben do not go to Lighthouse. So most of the kids now are not even going to the same church anymore as the Duggars, meaning that the tight control that Jim Bob once had on his kids is really dwindling. And it could be that some of the kids just do not want to film anymore. I know my source said that some of the kids have expressed that they just want to have a normal life and they don't like filming. So apparently Johanna and Jennifer, according to my source, really don't like to film at all, which explains why they looked so crabby in this last episode. And I guess maybe Jed and Jeremiah might want to be going their own direction too, which could also explain maybe why the Duggars haven't announced anything with their wedding. Maybe Jed just doesn't want them to announce anything. Maybe Katie's family doesn't want them to announce anything. Maybe they don't want it to be like a thing. Given all of that, I don't think Claire and Justin are going to be a part of anything in the future because their wedding wasn't filmed and they're in Texas now. And I also think that Jeremy and Ginger might be also moving on because they weren't involved in this actual episode either. Oh, and Michelle flew in November to meet the new baby within a month and a half of having COVID. Now, granted, she was probably not at all contagious. It's just odd because for people that are supposed to pray for people and care about humanity and have a servant's heart and care about the world, they're not acting like they care about anyone but themselves. True Christians would care about the not putting others at risk, doing their part to ensure that others are safe. Even if they don't necessarily take it seriously for them, they would at least respect the guidelines so that they don't cause harm to anyone else. And that's the thing about this is their lack of complete and utter concern and having such a public platform really, in a lot of ways, turned a lot of people off this fall when they started seeing all these events. But now when I find this out through my source that they had COVID, and I'm starting to wonder if they had it twice, I'm wondering now, like some of their friends got really upset with them, I'm told. There's been a rift between the Duggars and the Caldwells, and that's still very icy, I'm told. And they are losing sort of their hold on some of their kids. And so the new episode was called like A New Life. I'm wondering if they're going to take the show in a different direction with the younger kids or something. I don't know. I can't see the show continuing on if most of their adult children don't want to be a part of it. Jess is just not that interesting, you know? Nor is, and Joy and Austin don't want to be a part of it that much. John and Abby didn't even talk. I think the kids might be over it, and I think Jim, Bob, and Michelle are just unwilling to let it go. But that's just me. And I think it's really tacky that they are not at all taking care of the fact that they're public figures and they promote Christian values and they don't keep people safe and traveled and got their friends sick and caused a whole host of problems, allegedly. Tell me what your thoughts are about all of this in the comments below. Bye, guys.